Hi everyone, it's Vicky here and welcome back to one of my 1 kit 10 cards videos. Let's take a look at what is included on the April card kit by SSS Stamp. And first of all, you will find a set of pencils. These are wax pencils. This means that you can blend them together directly on top of your paper, or you can even use gum sole with them. And you get 12 colors in the set. Now, one of my favorite things to get in card kits are the tools. So this time, SSS Stamp is giving us a reverse tweezers, always handy to have, nice and pointy tip. And I know I will be using it a lot. You will also get this zipper bag, nice to keep your pencils inside. Then you get these very thin foam strips, very handy to use, especially for shaker cards. A white envelope, and then you will find a set of acetate elements that you can use. This is by Holtz, and I will be using them a lot today. You will find that I'm sharing lots of ideas on what you can do with them on top of the cards, and you will have a chance to see all the designs included as I go along with the video. Another little envelope. And I find that this kit makes it super easy for you to create shaker cards because you do get the very thin strips of foam tape, you do get the mix of sequins, you do get the acetate, and I'll show you how you can use them for creating windows. And now let's take a look at the papers that you get in this kit. I absolutely love them, and as always you will see them used in all my 10 cards. Now these are 6x6 papers and they are not double-sided, which maybe makes your life easier since you don't have to fight with yourself on which side you're going to use on your projects. Then this is the stamp set, a big stamp set full of poppies as well as many sentiments to play with, and I am pretty sure that there are matching dies if you are not the kind of person who likes fuzzy cutting, if you want to pop them on your projects. So that was a plastic sleeve pocket, and then finally cardstock in 3 different colors. So I'm going to open up the bag with the acetates, check out the designs. You will find many colorful ones, you will find butterflies, different shapes like circles for example, and these all can be used to create window cards, shaker cards, so much fun. I'm going to start with the first card for today. And I find that the colors on the butterfly, the green colors on the butterfly as well as the green in this pattern paper match beautifully together. That's why this is the one that I will be using as a frame for my card. I'm also going to be using this one as well. And then I'm going to bring in my set of rectangle dies. These have a lovely stitching all around. And I'm going to cut out a border. I'm just trying to find out which one of those rectangles is going to fit that acetate better. And then I'm going to place it on top of my pattern paper and just run it through. Don't throw away the inside piece, I will use it on another card. And then at the back of the frame that we created, I'm going to use my double-sided tape. Of course, here you can go either with glue or you can definitely use your tape runner. I just have tons of that roll and I want to start using it. So anyway, I'm going to peel it off and stick the acetate there. And of course, this is a great start for creating the top panel of a shaker card. However, for this card, I'm not going for a shaker card. I will be making more later on. I just want to have this window panel. I think it looks beautiful. And this is where you can use those thin foam strips that you got inside the kit. However, I'm just hoarding them. I don't want to use them for this card. So I'll just go with my good old big foam tape. And I'm just going to go all around creating a frame. I'll place that on top of my background. And you can see how this butterfly is raised. So it looks dimensional and I absolutely love the effect. You can definitely add a shaker mix inside if you wish. Now for your sentiments, of course you can use the sentiments included in the kit from the stamp set. However, for some of my cards I decided to use some of these stickers. These are an old booklet of quotes that I have from Holtz. Probably it is discontinued. If it's not, I will link it down below. I just love using them because they are very thin and white on black. And I did use that thin foam tape at the back so that I can pop it on my card. All the cards today will be clean and simple and very easy to reproduce, and you will see photos of them at the end of the video. Moving on to the next card, and I find that those two match lovely together, this paper and the acetate, which is full of color swatches. I'm going to cut out my paper, making sure that it is the exact same size as the acetate. And just because I'm lazy, instead of just measuring the acetate, I'm just placing it temporarily on top so that I can cut out the paper exactly in the same size. I'm using my scissors on the edge of my pattern paper just to make sure that it is distressed, and this is going to add a little bit of texture and some interest on an otherwise very simple card. And since I have those color swatches on the acetate, I'm going for a more artistic look and feel on this card. That's why I swiped a little bit of black ink on my glass mat, and with water I'm diluting it and adding some splatters on the background. And I'm also going to add some black splatters on my card base. So I'm placing my paper on top of my card base on an angle by using foam tape at the back. And I took the time to cut out tiny little strips of foam tape, which of course you have to hide behind those colored swatches so that they don't show when you stick them on top of your card. And then this panel is going on top of the other one, again on an angle, since I'm going for a more mixed media look, like an artistic vibe to it. I think it looks gorgeous as it is. You don't really need to add a lot on top of it. You can definitely just add sentiment and you are good to go. However, I'm going to take it a step further, since I do have the poppies from my stamp set. I'm going to stamp one of the poppies with black ink. And by the way, I'm using my new Stampwheel. This is the new stamping press by Altenew. It is super fun to use and it allows you to create wreaths in no time with no effort at all, but you can definitely use it to just stamp. So I'm going to double stamp it since I want to have a nice crisp image. And then you can either use the wax pencils that are included in the kit to color your image, or you can grab your markers. I'm using my Triplet markers, which I absolutely love, and I'm going to try and match the colors from the swatch acetate. So you see, I'm not going with red, bright red for my poppy. I rather go with more orange and earthy tones. So I'm just going to use this marker, and then for the stem I'm going to use those muted colors of green. The actual markers that I use, by the way, are dull green red and coral blend. And again, these are my favorite alcohol markers because you get medium, light and dark in one barrel. Now I'm going to bring in my scissors and just fuzzy cut this flower. Super easy to do, and I'm leaving a little bit of a white border all around. There is a set of dies that you can grab that matches this stamp set. If you don't like fuzzy cutting, I don't mind, so I don't always get them for my stamps. So I'm going to place my poppy down, and then I will add the sentiment. So for my sentiment, again, I used one of those sticker strips from the Holtz booklet, which I combined with just a piece of black cardstock. And this finishes the second card for today. Again, you will find photos of all the cards at the end of this video. Now for my next card, I'm going to use this acetate with the typography and the branch of leaves. So I will cut out poppies from this cardstock, 3 of them actually, so I'm fuzzy cutting them. And I will use them as the flowers on top of my acetate to embellish it a little bit more. So I feel like those leaves are perfect for poppies. They look like the original ones. So I think that they are the perfect match. As I fuzzy cut from this pattern paper, I make sure that I cut out 3 different looking poppies so they don't look identical. And also I'm cutting out all those 3 flowers that I need from one side of the paper so that I don't ruin it at all. You will see that I will use the rest in one of the following cards, since it is so gorgeous and you definitely don't want this to go to waste. At the back of all the poppies I'm going to add some foam tape and then stick it on top of my acetate. And as I do that, let me chat a little bit about my 10 cards. I always get the question, how long did it take you to make all those 10 cards. And the truth is that I cannot say how long it takes me. You see, I even change clothes or manicure for sometimes. Very rarely I just make the 10 cards all at once. I usually sit down whenever I have time during the day here and there to create a couple of cards or 3 cards. It might take me 3 days to make them. It might take them just one evening if I sit down and make them all at once. Or I can make them throughout the whole day because I have to run errands to pick up the kids from school and things like that. So really there is no answer to this question. Now here again, that's me being lazy. Instead of measuring and cutting out with my paper trimmer, I'm just using my scissors, making sure that the background paper is exactly the same size as my acetate, and then I'm going to bring in a little bit of distress ink and I'm going to ink up the edges and go towards the center. As I go towards the center, I'm making sure that I don't go as saturated. So I'm kind of creating a border, a blended border with a lighter area at the center. I'm using my tape runner at the back and I made sure that I hide the tape runner wherever that design is. So just a few spots to add your tape runner is enough to hold these two pieces together, and then I'm not going to place that on top of a white card base. I feel that it is super bright for the design. That's why I went with a black cardstock for the background, add a sentiment on top, and then all I have to do is to stick this whole thing on top of a card base that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And now let's make a shaker card. After all, we do have everything we need in the kit. For that, I'm going to use this red pattern paper. I'm going to cut it down to be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm placing one of my stitched rectangle dies on top of it so that I can cut out and create a frame. And again, don't throw away the inside piece. You can use it on another card. On the outside, I'm going with my tape runner, and that's where I can stick my acetate. And then I'm going to bring in my foam tape and create a frame all around, making sure that I don't leave any gaps since I'm going to add a shaker mix inside and I don't want those to fall all over the place. I'm going to peel off the backing, I'm going to add the shaker mix on top of my card base, and by the way, this is the shaker mix included in the kit, so you really do get everything you need and you don't have to use the foam tape that I'm using. There is foam tape on your kit as well. So I'm going to place it on top, and of course you need to add a sentiment. And again, you do have the option to use the sentiments that are included in the stamp set. It just happens that I do have those booklets which have tons and tons of stickers inside, and I'm in the process of trying to use up all my old supplies. That's why I keep on using them again and again, but to tell you the truth, they will never end. Anyway, just like I did on the previous cards, I'm using those thin foam strips at the back so that I can pop them on top of my card, and my shaker card is finished. Now, here is your reminder. When it comes to using your pattern paper, don't forget you can use the outside, the cover of your paper pad. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just going to cut out all those squares from the cover and I'm going to use them on my card. I picked up a few of them which I'm going to layer one on top of the other on an angle. And just to add some extra interest, I'm just roughing up the edges with my scissors. So I'm making pairs where you can see some of the other pattern paper popping from behind. I'm going to stick one on top of the other by using my tape runner, but you can definitely use foam tape if you want to add even more dimension on your elements. For some extra interest, I did fuzzy cut one little poppy as well as a couple of flowers from two of the other pattern papers, and now it's time to place them on top of my card base. Just place them temporarily in the beginning, decide where you want them to go, and I'm then going to peel off the backing and place them down. Just because they do have two layers and they are on an angle, they are very forgiving, so you don't have to align them perfectly. It's going to look great either way you place them. And then you can embellish some of the squares with the fuzzy cut elements. So on one of them I'm going with a poppy, and on another one I'm going with the couple of leaves that I have cut out. This is a great design that you can do again and again for any paper pad that you have on hand. This is a great way to use the pattern papers and showcase them on top of your card, plus to fuzzy cut some of the elements and embellish the little squares. It is one of my go-to recipes, and trust me, it works with any pattern paper that you have. At the bottom you have enough space to stamp a sentiment, and for that I'm going with one from the stamp set. And you see here I didn't bother to grab a stamping platform, I'm going the old traditional way with a stamping block, but everything went just fine. And my card is finished, again a very versatile design for any sentiment really. For my next card I'm going to use this circle acetate, and I'm going for a circle card, so I'm using a letter sized cardstock. I'm going to cut it in half and then I'm going to fold it in half again. So here I just used my scoring board. I'm going to make sure that I have a good crease, and now I'm using one of my circle dies, making sure that I don't cut the fold at the top. By the way, I'm using one of my circle dies that are pretty much the same size as my acetate. So here is what I have up to now, my little card and the acetate that fits on top. Now I'm going to use the circle die that I used to cut out my card base, as well as a smaller circle to create a black ring. You can use glue or your tape runner around that ring, and then I'm going to stick that ring on top of my acetate. Now I'm going for a shaker card, so here I'm using the thin strips of foam tape from the kit, and I'm going all around the perimeter. Make sure that you peel off the foam tape before you stick it down, this way you will have the ability to manipulate it better. Now for the back of this panel you can use pretty much any cardstock that you have at home, any solid colored cardstock, or if you have something which is more plain with dots. I am going to use one from my stash, this is not included in the kit, and I decided to go with yellow. Now the reason why I didn't use one of the pattern papers from the kit is that they were quite busy, and that beautiful design with the flowers on the acetate didn't show as much. That's why I went with something more solid. So my shaker element is now ready. Make sure that this is nicely attached. And then all I have to do is to just stick this on top of my circle card. And again, for your sentiment, you can either use one of the sentiments included in the stamp set from the kit, or you can use any dies and other sentiments that you already have at home. Here I just combined the cutout hello with one of my sticker sentiments, and I'm good to go. Again, keep in mind you will find photos of all the cards at the end of this video, and you can also visit my blog where you will see lots of photos there as well. You will find the link to that blog post down below in the description if you are watching on YouTube. So now on this card I'm working on with the acetate that has all those swatches again, color swatches, and I'm going to place it on top of a background that I don't want to be super bright. That's why I'm using my cream dye ink from my own signature collection with Stamperia, and this is the perfect color to add that extra something on that white, to break that white on a super bright cardstock. I'm also going for a mixed media look and feel on the background. That's why I grabbed one of my text stamps, and I'm sure you all have a text stamp somewhere in your stash. I'm going to stamp that with black ink just randomly at the background. I'm not going for the perfect impression. If something doesn't stamp perfectly, it's not an issue really. This is not going to show that much. We are just going for the visual texture here. I'm also going to use another stamp that looks like a coffee stain. And again with my black ink pad I'm going to add a few of those stamped images here and there. I'm also going to stamp some splatters, and you can definitely recreate something similar with stamps that you already have. By the way, these are all from a stamp set from my own signature collection with Stamperia. Now I'm going to stick this acetate on top of the panel that I have created, and of course I have to add some tape at the back with my tape runner, making sure that I hide it behind those designs. Now that paper that I was working on was slightly bigger than my acetate, so I'm just going to use my scissors and cut out the background to be exactly the same size as the acetate. You can use your paper trimmer for that if you like. And then to finish off the card, again I'm going to use one of my sticker strips with the sentiments, and I'm adding some foam tape at the back. I'm going to place it on top and I'm going to call this card done. I don't want to add anything extra on this one. Now for this card I'm going to combine this beautiful rectangle acetate with those flowers with that white circle that I cut out from white cardstock. I'm sticking one on top of the other, and of course I did hide that tape runner behind the design, and now I'm using my scissors to cut out the excess acetate. So I'm just going around the circle, but wherever that design sticks out, I'm not going to chop it off, I'm just going to go around it. This way I will end up with a really interesting element with parts of the design going outside of the white circle, and it makes a great focal point. I used glue, white glue at the back, and I'm going to stick it on top of a circle, and you see this is a scrap from something that I cut out, but don't worry about it, I just am a little bit frugal and I use pretty much everything, and that part at the bottom is not going to show at all, since this is where I'm going to stick my sentiment. Now I'm using this lovely pattern paper, and this is again from the kit. This is exactly 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so it fits and covers completely my card base. At the back of my focal point I'm going to add some foam tape and stick it on top of my card base. And then for the sentiment, you see I did combine some of the sentiments that I had in my stash, but again you can definitely use sentiments from the stamp set that is included. So here is a close-up look. And remember that beautiful pattern paper with all those poppies that we used in some of the cards to fuzzy cut the poppies. I don't want this to go to waste, so I'm using one of my rectangle dies and I'm going to cut out a little panel. And I did cut out the exact same size of a panel for the back from a solid black cardstock. And then with foam tape I'm going to stick one on top of the other on an angle so that you can see a little bit of that black popping from the back. Another way that you can go is if you cut out that black panel being slightly bigger than your pattern paper, and this way you can mat it. I'm using some tape runner at the back and I'm going to place it on top of another panel. This is a red cardstock and it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so it's the exact same size as my card base. And then all I have to do is to just add a sentiment. For this card I want to showcase the beautiful pattern paper, that's why I don't want to cover it up completely. I am using a combination of a die and a sentiment from my stash, but again you can use the sentiments included in the kit. Now I still have lots of pattern paper leftovers. Here are some of them of what I have, and I can keep on sharing more cards, but the video is already over 20 minutes, so I'm going to stop at 10 cards just like always. And then for this one I'm going for a very clean and simple design, but you will see it looks really stunning at the end. I'm going to stamp 3 of the images from the stamp set, and I went with 2 poppies and 1 of the leaves. And I'm going to show you that you don't always have to color the stamped images. Sometimes they look stunning if you just leave them as they are with the black lines. So here I'm just stamping it one more time. I want to have a nice and crisp image. And then I'm going to use my scissors and fuzzy cut all those images, leaving a little bit of a white border all around. So for this card I'm combining 2 of the pattern papers. I have a little rectangle panel of that green one, and then from another one that is a contrasting color, contrasting design, I just cut out a little piece on an angle and I'm placing it at the bottom, just to give it a little bit more interest, and that's where I'm going to tuck inside the flowers and the leaf that I have cut out. Again, for those I'm using foam tape at the back so that I can pop them on my card. And I absolutely love that black and white look on the stamped images. I think it is perfect for that design that I'm going for. So you see, not every time you have to color your images. Sometimes quick and easy cards may be super beautiful without adding too much effort. So these were all the 10 cards for today. You can see close-up photos on all the cards that I made here. Don't forget to leave me a comment, to like the video and share it with your friends if you do enjoy the 10 cards videos. I hope that you had fun as much as I did. Links to everything I used can be found down below. Thank you all so much for watching today and I'll see you all next time.